It's on Saturdays at 9 p.m. here, 10 p.m. there. But it is a great show, and it is a very entertaining show, and you're going to love what it brings you. And some of the great people on there, they make the show too, because Greg's a great guy, but he's got a great crew. And among them is Tyrus. Tyrus Smash. What's up, buddy?
What's up, boss? How are you? I was enjoying your story. As a former bodyguard and bouncer, I used to feel that all the time. And we used to have a rule: if a couple was in a fight, we didn't get involved. Because you'd go in and you'd grab the guy, you'd snatch him up by the back of his neck, and as soon as you go to turn around, his girl would jump on your back. So it just wasn't worth it. Because even though you think you're doing the right thing, trying to help him out, best thing to do is just call the police, because she's going to attack you because you're touching her boo.
Exactly, her boo. I know,
Even
man.
though her boo is choking the life out of her.
I know. It doesn't pay to be nice or to be protective. That's for sure. So, how did you? First of all, if you don't know Tyrus, and you have to have heard of him before, because he's not only a professional wrestler, great actor, very funny comedian. And he also was known at the WWE as Brodus Clay and the Funkasaurus. So, how did you?
A lot of names.
It must have been hard to give up the Funkasaurus name to go on Greg Gutfeld show, because I think ultimately that's got to come back in some form.
Well, here's the thing. I'm rhythmically challenged, so the Funkasaurus worked because the kids and my two co-stars did dancing for me. But I actually invented that name while I was lifting weights. My trainer and I were lifting, and the original name they had for me was Heavy G. And I was like, first of all, Heavy D just died, so I'm not feeling that. And two, I'm on a diet, so why the hell would I want to call myself Heavy anything? So,
Right. Yeah.
So I was training with Rob McIntyre, who's also John Cena's trainer down at Hard Knock South, and that's where most of my brainstorm life come from. And that's when we came up with a name. Like, we were like, I don't know. And then Bootsy Collins got involved, and of course, Snoop was very supportive of that. And actually, Brodus is his last name. So when I left bodyguarding to go to wrestling, just out of respect for him being so supportive, that's where the name came from.
Well, and
most of my best ideas come from lifting weights.
I'm sure it does. So here's a situation now where you're on a show, and you guys really, I call it, and I have always with my show here, common sense conservatism. It's not Republican politics necessarily. It's more of an approach, a common sense approach. And you and Kat, I loved your routine out at the Women's March, which was pretty cool. Let me play a clip of Tyrus and Kat out at the Women's March there in D.C.
Go Trump!
Tyrus and Kat here, D.C. backstage.
Really, really way backstage. I can't see anything.
I got you.
Oh, yeah, there it is. All right, yeah, let's go do this.
So Tyrus decides he's going to ask a protester a pointed question. Here you go.
Let's say that they were Facebook buddies with Russia the entire election, and Russia was feeding him stuff, and they were feeding Russia stuff. Would you respect the office? Maybe not necessarily the man, but respect the office if that was proven unfounded?
It doesn't really mean anything. The office is the man.
Okay, I respect your opinion. Me personally, I'm always been, regardless of my views of the guy in there, respect the office, because America first, party second. But if you feel that strongly about it, I respect your opinion. Thank you for your time.
My pleasure. Thank you. Take care.
See,
Keep going.
you can debate without calling names and have a different opinion. It's amazing. We should try it more often. Thank you.
Yeah, see, and this is the kind of face of conservatism or common sense conservatism that we appreciate, where, to me, I think you're able to win people over when you're approaching issues the way you do on the Gutfeld show and beyond.
Well, it also helps when you're 6'8", and you're a monster. So,
right,
because the guy was actually, he was kind of being a jerk. He was like yelling stuff or whatever, and I was like, obviously you have something you want to get out. I'm not going to agree with you, but I'm going to give you a platform, And I hate when, and it's become like just in this country, like if you don't agree with me, I hate you, and that to me is crazy. It didn't used to be that way, and I'm kind of an independent conservative. And I think more people, if they would just look at things, would rather be conservative. Nobody wants the government all up in their stuff. Everyone would like to pay less taxes and have more be on their own and be more self-sufficient. But this picture in this country has been painted that somehow you need all these government services and you need all this extra stuff because in a very polite way, they try to make it sound like you can't do it yourself. And if most people in America looked at how much services they actually use, they would see that a lot of it's just overblown and inflated.
Yeah.
So it drives me crazy because somewhere the word conservative became an elitist thing. And more people, if they break it down, are more conservative than they are, let's say, like super liberal, but because the only people that they see are these the kumbaya celebrities and stuff who cry these bleeding heart things. But the cold part is the celebrities are conservative. They go back to their homes. They don't want to pay taxes. Live up on the mountain. You know what I'm saying? They live outside the city.
Yeah.
For a reason. You know what I'm saying? That's what cracks me up when I see the Madonnas and all them come down. They want to do their speeches as long as there's a microphone and a camera. It's not like they're going to do it if that march would have been with no cameras or anything. You think they'd been there?
Well, it looks to me like, based on that march, that those individuals there on the liberal side have the problem that I believe conservatives have finally shaken, and that is people who are fronting the movement. We finally have gotten rid of some of those folks who actually gave the movement a bad name for whatever reason, and I'm talking about the plain, deceptive Republicans. But now you have with the Democrats and the liberals, you've got them allowing Madonna to be delivering their message, which is a really bad thing because no matter how earnest you are, when you've got some chick up there talking about blowing up the White House, you're going to be discredited. You're done. There's no turning back from you.
The only thing that really came from the march is like Starbucks all over the country were underhanded. That was it. There was a lot of call-outs from Starbucks that week.
Right.
The march was 4 months too late. Where was this mobilization and support for Hillary during the election? There wasn't. She didn't have and here's the thing, I don't agree with Donald Trump on everything. And some of the things he says, I'm just like, why are you talking? Stop. You have a position to do what you want to do and just stop bickering and fighting with people. You don't need to do it. But that's who he is, so I guess we just have to grin and bear it sometimes. But the Hillary stuff, she was fundraising instead of being in Wisconsin and Michigan and connecting with people. She never fought the issues that were thrown at her. If she ever would have took a stand on the emails and just sat down and broke it down with everybody, and if it was just her talking to her personal stuff or whatever, explain that. The American people obviously are understanding because everything that Donald Trump got hit with, and some of it was, you were like, what? But every time it happened, he had a press conference and he talked about it.
Right.
So if 20 of us think, oh, he's guilty and he's no good, by the time he talked about it, 10 would be like, you know what, I'm all right with that. I've made mistakes. I've done that. More people are more like that than they are holier than thou. I never make any mistakes, and I'm not going to talk about anything because you don't trust that person. It was very easy for them to paint that narrative of that she was untrustworthy because she never opened up about anything.
Well, and to your point earlier about getting through a conversation without name calling, I just think that you cannot underestimate the damage you do when, like, for instance, when she made her deplorable speech. People think, what really happened? I go, you know what? I think the turning point in this campaign was that deplorable speech that just basically energized anybody out there who was on the fence or anybody out there who was wishy-washy about supporting Donald Trump suddenly became big-time passionate for him and for the movement. And so that really did a severe amount of damage to her. And this put-down campaign clearly backfired on her. And I'm sure she was watching that march from wherever she was in D.C. wondering, where were all of you when I needed you,
You know, and here's the thing about the deplorable things, because obviously Donald Trump said way worse things. But he owned everything. And his base was like, let's get it on. Let's fight. And she never fought. So when she said it and then she backtrailed on it, it was more that, well, I only meant it about 30%. That's like, oh, no, we're all deplorable. Like, that was his movement.
Yeah.
They wanted change and they wanted to fight. You don't pick a fight with somebody who's already taped up. Ready to go.
Right on.
And that was his base. And her base was like, well, this doesn't matter. It's inconsequential. They're already picking out new drapes for the White House. They were not, they were making phone calls about, I'm going to extend this and we're going to do this. Like, she didn't take, her crew, her team, they should have been fired when Podesta stuff came out, should have been fired on the spot. People would have saw her take a stand. It probably would have changed the result, but at least they would have been like, wow, she's a fighter. She's not. I mean, she has this reputation of being this ruthless person when she's upset.
Yeah.
If America would have saw that side of her, maybe things would have been different. But I don't know. It was just he was rock and roll. Like there's the only way to describe it. Like Donald Trump's rallies were stuff that loved movies. I mean, you really had to see it to understand it. Like it was just crazy. And like I said, when it was going on, I myself was like, oh, when the whole NBC thing happened, I was like, it's done. It's a wrap. It's over. It's next.
Right.
Forget it. And I was like, move on. And his base was like, nope, I've said stupid stuff.
Yeah.
And even with all the women coming forward, stuff like that, because he took everything on. There's just a certain thing about Donald, and he does it now even. And like I said, sometimes I'm like, bruh, stop. Whole, and like the one thing, here's one thing that the whole fight over the wall, like this is, the wall. Everyone's making it about keeping the illegals out. But I think the bigger issue is the drugs.
Yeah.
And if we would preach that narrative, listen, if the cartels can't move, let's say that wall takes down 40% of the drugs coming into this country. That's huge.
Yep.
That has a trickle-down effect across everywhere. People aren't going to take penitentiary chances trying to sell drugs to put food on the table. Not every drug dealer is Scarface from the movie.
Right.
A lot of times it's moms and dads trying to make ends meet. And if those things aren't there and they have to go back to getting a job.
Right.
But how can you tell somebody, listen, you can make 2 G's in 3 days hustling up rocks, or you can go get a check for $465 every week. It's just not. It's the risk and reward. You know what I'm saying? It's hard. That's the real issue. And of course, the Mexican president wasn't going to show up because he's owned by the cartel.
Right. He's
not going to build that wall because he has to fight it. Because if he's not, he's going to, 1, wake up in the morning with a horse's head in his bed, or 2, he's going to have a bullet in his head.
Right on.
Like they run the country. Period. And I think if they would talk about that narrative, people's reactions would be a lot different. And Amnesty says, I think the illegal alien thing, it's a very simple law. You ask to come in, you fill out your paperwork, they say yes or no. It's very, very simple. And these governors and mayors that are saying that, they should lose federal funding because they are, they're sworn in to uphold the law. You can't pick and choose.
All this
to me is craziness.
Yeah. All this is so simple, and I'm so glad you're able to bring it home on a weekly basis there on the Greg Gutfeld Show, Tyrus, and I appreciate you joining us. And make sure you follow Tyrus on Twitter at Planet Tyrus, TyrusSmash.com, and we'll see you this weekend on the Greg Gutfeld Show. We appreciate you sharing your thoughts with us, my friend.